So I want to welcome each of you to attending the JB Team's Bitcoin Basics. Our goal here is we have me, Terrence, and Antonio. We kind of got together and decided that every month we were going to start talking about crypto. And we have been really faithful and diligent to this process since I think December of last year. And we all are at different phases in our getting to know what crypto, what Bitcoin is. I like to say, let's start from Bitcoin, because when you kind of understand Bitcoin, you understand crypto, and then you also understand that there's so much to understand. There's nothing to be scared about, right? Because nobody really at this stage know more than you, if you're willing to at least just understand the basics. So this is what this presentation is about. I'm going to go through my slides because I prepared them for y'all. And then afterwards, I want to just open it up to discussion. And then if I need to go back to a slide, just let me know. But I just want to go through the slides. And then at that point, Antonio is he's so brilliant at articulating basic concepts. So he's going to be, I'm sure, be able to explain a lot of things that I'm going to just present in an overview. And then Terrence, I call him, that's our blockchain expert. And he's also learning about NFTs. So we can delve into that. But this is going to be very detailed, a lot of detailed information, but it's the basics. I think it's the basics. All right. All right. So after this call, I think, and Antonio and Terrence can probably rubber stamp this, you're gonna have more knowledge after this call than 90+% of the people out there in the world, to be honest with you, in this condensed format. All right. Bitcoin and Black America. All right. As y'all know, I am an administrator, me and Terrence, of the Juneteenth Blackout Group. And the purpose of the Juneteenth Blackout Group is basically to support Black business, Black creatives, Black artists, etc., to share what we create, to support businesses. That's what I'm all about. That's what Terrence is all about. And part of that is supporting us economically, right? And so Bitcoin and Black America, there's a guy named Isaiah Thomas. He wrote a book called Bitcoin and Black America. And I'm telling y'all, it is a book you need to read, okay? It is a good baseline book to start from. It's an easy read. It's a quick read. We can't really see it because I think it's faded out, but Bitcoin and Black America, that's a great book to start with, okay? But he said something that I put here on a quote, and I'm sure you've had the opportunity to read it, but he says, Bitcoin and Black America, that if any group of people should recognize how media can misrepresent you because they feel threatened, it should be the Black community. Bitcoin and the Black community are a match made in heaven. Every people outside of our community recognize the ability of crypto in the Black community to free themselves by taking advantage of Bitcoin. And so really you need to, I would read his book as a baseline to just kind of getting into the understanding of Bitcoin. All right, so I'm gonna go to my next slide. History and facts. All right, so the reason why I wanted to talk about history and facts before I really kind of delve into it is because you have to understand that the monetary system that we are in right now is a system created by other human beings, okay? And this system, this American system, specifically in America, limited people who are Black or African Americans from progressing in the American system, okay? One of the things by doing that is that America, but the world too, was able to allow certain people, certain small groups of people to get very, very rich. This is an article that was written in 2006 that says the world's richest 1% own 40% of all wealth. Now that's 2006. This is a 2020 article that says top 1% of households own 43% of global wealth. So as you can tell, it's increasing. Their 1% to our percentage of everybody else, they're owning more and more of the wealth. I want you to remember this article when I go further. In 2010, Goldman Sachs profit 91% in a short period of $3.46 billion. Okay, so that lets you know, I want you to just plant this seed that Goldman Sachs has perfected how to make money in the current monetary market system. Okay, I want you to remember that. Now, I also want you to remember, I got 2 slides here. And the whole reason for these 2 slides is I want you to kind of take into consideration of when the stock market really began, right? And that was really sometime in the 1700s, okay? The Philadelphia Stock Exchange started in 1790. The Dow Jones Industrial 1896 and the S&P 1923. I want you to remember those dates and compare them to when Jim Crow was finally eliminated with the Civil Rights Act bill. That wasn't until 1964, right? So 1790, 1896, 1923, Black people really couldn't participate in the stock market. They couldn't participate in probably the greatest system of making money within the American capitalistic system that existed, and we were not participants, right? And then even when we got the right to vote and we got the civil rights and Jim Crow laws was eliminated, we were just trying to survive. We wasn't trying to put our money in some stock market and grow our economy and grow our own finances. All right, so what is traditional money? Money is language, right? It is how we express value to each other. If you come to my office, I'm a lawyer by trade, and you want to consult with me, you give me a certain amount of dollars for that consultation, and I give you in return a service of consulting you on your legal issue, right? So and we exchange money. You give me money for that consultation. It's a communication. It's an expression of value, right? It's a system of exchange of value. And remember, because this is very critical for you to even be engaged in Bitcoin or crypto or to be interested, is that the original system of exchange of value was designed to prevent Black people from participation. That's that monetary market inequality. You were prevented, as Black people, we were prevented in the monetary market system and in the market system. And is usually controlled by a central entity, i.e. the United States government. It's institutional based, like the dollar, that's the United States money, the yuan, the euro, all right? And also I would recommend that you read an article that I wrote called What is Money? The Forbidden Understanding About the Dollar. And you also need to read the Bretton Woods Agreement. This will help you get sort of that background information of understanding money, because most people don't understand what money is, which is why we get left behind in this monetary market system.
Capitalism. Before you go to the next slide, go back to the back one slide.
One slide.
Yeah. So when you said a system of exchange of value, way before paper money was created and used, they had the value was of salt, and they used to exchange salt because salt was used as a salt was used as a preservative for foods. They didn't have refrigeration, so back in the day, salt was that value. It was that entity that was money per se. So when they say a person isn't worth their salt, that's what they're talking about. And the word salary actually is a derivative of that. Go ahead, Sean.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. And I think that another thing is I want you to really understand that money is really just a technology that we created, right? Just like salt, it's just an expression of value, how we express value between each other. All right. What is Bitcoin? Naval Ravikant, who's the founder of AngelList, said Bitcoin is freedom from tyranny and oligarchy dressed up in a get rich scheme. So I want you to, I'm not going to elaborate on that. I just want you to think about that, right? It's a freedom from tyranny and oligarchy dressed up in a get rich scheme. That quote may mean a little bit more to you as once we're done with the presentation. All right. So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a technology. Some call it the internet of money, digital energy as an iteration of money. Now it's more than money because it's more than just being a currency, right? What makes a currency? It's a store of value, meaning at some point in the future, it's going to increase in value. Unit of account is how we make an accounting. We count dollars. I have $1,000 in a bank account. It's a medium of exchange. If you give me money, I can give you money. Or if you give me a consultation, if I give you a consultation, you give me money in exchange. It's an international network of payments, right? That is decentralized. And decentralized meaning no third-party intermediary, no government. Some say it's a monetary, social, and political revolution. Programmable money, i.e. smart contracts, which we'll talk about that a little bit. Network-centric protocol-based form of money. Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency. It's the granddaddy of cryptocurrency. It's the gold of cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin as a trust system. Andrea says that, that it is a concept of decentralization applied to the human communication of value. It is a platform of trust. Why is it a form of trust, right? In our current system, if I walk into Bank of America and I want to do business at Bank of America is going to look at me and say, okay, she's a Black female. In fact, they may even have me fill out a form and write down what your race is. Am I right, Antonio?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then if I'm not dressed a certain way, they may not give me, if I want a loan, they may not even give me a loan because I'm dressed a certain kind of way, right? So they're the decision maker between me and a loan that I want. It's not about whether or not I could pay for it. I may have a job, I may have a constant stream of income, but they're still the decision maker. They're that intermediary decision maker, right? And then they are the one that decides whether or not to trust me with the money.
Can I give you an example, Sean?
Absolutely, Terrence.
So I was working at a company over off of Westheimer, but I was living over off of 288. And I went into the bank, a Chase Bank near where I worked, to open up a bank account. They told me because I did not live in that area, they could not open up a bank account for me. And they didn't. This was in the 90s.
Wow. So they were the intermediary that made a decision of whether or not you can open up a bank account to put your money in.
Right.
That they were going to use to loan out to other people.
Right. And I'm working a corporate job. I'm out of college. I'm working a corporate job at that point.
Wow. 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 That's that. So now you see the bank acts as a third party intermediary. The government acts as a third party intermediary, right? Do you trust that if you were to take your dollar bill to the store, you can exchange that dollar for goods or services? The reason why you trust that is because you believe that there is actual value to the dollar. You believe that there's something that backs that dollar, that if I take that dollar, I can then take that same dollar and go do something else with it, right? Many of us have never asked ourselves this question. What is it that gives you that trust? Is it the actual paper, the dollar bill or the quarter or the coin or the $20 bill? Or is it the system underlying the paper, right? Well, that's what we call fiat money, money backed by power. The only reason why you're confident that that dollar can buy you goods or services that will be honored is because it's backed by the authority of the United States government. That's it. Who holds the power? The United States government holds the power. What is the United States government? It's a system. Okay. And what's happening right now with Bitcoin and crypto is that you have a system growing in the midst of another, in the midst of an old system. Okay. You have a new system growing in the midst of an old system. Now, who owns or controls Bitcoin? No one. No one owns it. No one controls it. It's not owned by the government. It's not owned by China. It's not owned by a company. It's not owned by Warren Buffett. It's not owned by anyone. Okay. So there's no one single person that owns Bitcoin. Now, who started Bitcoin? A person or people named Satoshi Nakamoto. All right. Margaret Mead once said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. I was having a conversation, I believe that was me and you, Terrence, and I was saying, okay, you need to think about it from this perspective. 30 years ago, 10 years ago, pre-2008, 2009, if you created money that was not printed by the United States printing company, printing press, you created what would be called counterfeit money. Am I right?
You are.
I'm right, right? Meaning you could not go and print your own dollar. You could not go and create your own coin, right? Because if you did that, that would be called counterfeit. It would be what? Illegal, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, but now somebody or some people named Satoshi Nakamoto created a network-based money protocol that has the same distinctions as the dollar bill: store value, unit of exchange, unit of account, medium of exchange, unit of account. Back in 2009, and now in 2022, you got more possible bills that's on the table now that's going to potentially become regulations and laws that's now got to some kind of way make crypto, Bitcoin part of our monetary market system. Because now it is undoubtedly new money, right? I recommend that you read the white paper, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. All you got to do is Google Bitcoin white paper. It doesn't matter that you don't understand everything in the paper, because we're going to get past needing to understand everything, because don't nobody else understand it either. Not every aspect of it. This is an opportunity for us. Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
So let's backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
That Bretton Woods agreement is paramount to read first. That is a very short read. When you read the Bretton Woods, you'll understand that the dollar was pegged to the gold standard. And if you know why it was taken off of that, then you'll see why the space was created for Bitcoin. Bitcoin was created out of a necessity to right a wrong. So if you don't read the Bretton Woods, the Bitcoin white paper is just like a puff dream. But if you read that, then you'll have the basis and the first brick and the foundation on understand this whole charade of our monetary system. Then you read the Bitcoin white paper. Then you see where the founder or the group of people, what their vision was, because it's supposed to be peer-to-peer payment. It's evolved into a store of value. But go ahead, back to you, LaShawn.
Oh, no problem. Because I think it's, and I agree, I think it's key that you understand the background, but I don't want to go too much in the background.
The why. You got to understand the why, because if you don't understand the why, the what's and the how is irrelevant.
Not going to make sense. Yeah.
I will say this. when you start to read the Bretton Woods Agreement and understand that at one point in the past, the dollar was backed by gold, meaning the paper wasn't just the paper represented something tangible, right? But now the paper doesn't represent anything tangible other than the government's ability to issue or print more dollars, right? Or to buy up more bonds, engage in what's called qualitative easing, right? So I want you to think about it simply like this. If you have, okay, I think somebody wrote something in the chat. Let me see, what was important to read first before the Bitcoin white paper?
I'm answering it.
You answered for, thank you so much. All right. All right. So you have to think about the dollar. All right. I was talking to Terrence and I was telling Terrence, I say, one of the things that's hard for us to understand is that your house ain't worth what you think it's worth. And then he'll say, well, Sean, explain. And I say, okay. Back when my mom and dad got a house, I think my mom and dad paid $5,000 for their house, right? That same house now, depending upon where you built it at, would probably cost you $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 based upon the size. But my mom's house is the same size it was back when I was a kid. Nothing's changed about the house. She hadn't really done even much work to the house. So why would that same house cost you now $200,000, $300,000? Well, the way we have been sort of trained is we actually believe that our houses increase in value, meaning worth more dollars. But in actuality, when you read the Bretton Woods Agreement, you read the white paper, you read the necessity for this crypto system within our market monetary system, you understand that when the government prints money, meaning pays for social policies, give you stimulus packages, when they do all of that, they're printing money that's not backed by anything. So what end up happening is for every new dollar that's being printed or policy that's being funded, it's really taking away the value of that dollar. So instead of the dollar being worth all of the pennies that it used to be worth, with every new printing of the dollar, every new policy, social policy, every new stimulus given out, the dollar is decreasing in value. And you have to understand that we devalue the dollar. Now, it's as much as I would like to tell you that there's a way to correct that. Terrence likes to say this phrase, it's baked in the cake. The American capitalist system, it's baked in the system to devalue the dollar, which is why Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. He had to, because had he not done that, right, the government would not have been able to pay all of these foreign governments that they would have.
Yeah.
Say, who's speaking?
I said they couldn't have paid them in the gold if they
couldn't have paid them in the gold. Yeah. Right. And that's the Bretton Woods Agreement. So that's why it's, as Antonio is saying, you really need to start with the Bretton Woods Agreement and then go to the Bitcoin white paper. Okay. All right. Let me go further. All right. So convergence. If you're like me, I love following technology. Read my blogs. You read me on Forbidden Knowledge. I'm always kind of writing something about what's new, what's happening, what's going on. All right. So when different technologies converge, that convergence creates a new technology that can solve old problems, right? But that can also create new problems that need to be solved. So it's the coming together to create something new. Well, the foundational technologies that converge that allowed for Bitcoin to come into existence was blockchain, peer-to-peer network, cryptography, and proof of work. All right, or what we call consensus mechanisms. All right, so those are the 4 technologies. I'm not going to go through all that. We don't have time, but I wanted to kind of give highlight overview. So if you wanted to start your research, you'll have these words, because once you dig into this space, you're going to hear all of these words used over and over again. The purpose.
So
okay.
before you go back,
okay.
Before you go back one thing.
Go back. Okay.
Go back one.
Another? Okay.
So whenever you see the word, go forward one.
Forward or backwards?
Forward.
Forward,
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
forward.
Right here.
One more, right there. So
Right there.
whenever you see the word blockchain, just think digital ledger. Digital ledger that everybody that everybody in the world that has a computer can see. So the blockchain, we can go into how the blockchain was created, but that's a totally different conversation. But for all intents and purposes, the web 3.0, that is what makes Bitcoin and all these crypto assets so valuable, because everybody sees the same transactions. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. All right. Purpose of Bitcoin, money of the people. So instead of the government controlling money, Bitcoin allows for, or really is the core of the system is that people control the money. All right. So over 6 million people have no connection to money or to the monetary system, right? They usually deal in cash. And then of those 6 million people, 2 million or so have internet access, right? So now because of Bitcoin, those people who may usually only deal in cash now have internet access. By use of Bitcoin, these people now can participate in the international economy. They can transmit money with no or very little fees, and they can have basically no control over their money that at first they didn't even have access to. They couldn't, as Terrence, corporate America, Terrence Drew, CPA, college degree, went into a bank and couldn't get a bank account. Well, by having this system now, I don't need the bank to look me over and say, well, she's trustworthy or she's credit worthy. No, you don't have to, because I can just, as long as I got internet access, I'm myself I'm a bank. All right. So next slide. Okay. So common terminology. I got 2 pages of basic terminology. I'm not going to kind of go through every last one of them. I'm just going to give highlights. All right. So where do your crypto or your Bitcoin live? Nowhere. All right. But we like words. We love words. And so we like words that match up to what our common knowledge about things, right? So if I gave you $1, if you're a male, you'll get your wallet out your back pocket and put it in your wallet. If you're female, you'll go in your purse, get your wallet and put your dollar in the wallet. All right. But your Bitcoin, your cryptos don't actually live on what we call these wallets. But there's different types of wallets that hold what's called private keys, which is your only way of making sure you can access your crypto or your Bitcoin, right? So the 4 types of wallets are your desktop wallet, which is like your computer, your phone wallets, which we call a hot wallet, your hardware wallet, companies like Ledger, where it's literally kind of look like a USB, and then your paper wallet, which is almost like a QR code type deal. Those are your 4 basic types of wallets. I'm not going to go into detail about them. This is stuff that we talk about month to month. This is stuff we on our own research and come to understand. But once you get into crypto and you want to hold your crypto, you're going to want to have one of those wallets. Another, exchanges. Exchanges is a platform that allow you to trade your cryptocurrencies. I know many of you probably, if not all of you, have heard of Coinbase, Gemini, Binance. It's almost like it's like a Robinhood. It's like a E-Trade kind of, but it's for crypto. Now, you can actually hold your crypto on an exchange, but if that exchange were to go bankruptcy, it's not clear whether or not your crypto held on the exchange would be property of the company, of the Coinbase, of the Gemini, of the Binance. So it's best that if you buy your crypto on those exchanges, for you to move them from the exchange to one of your wallets. Okay.
In particular, that's going to be a hardware wallet. A hardware wallet is a co-wallet, which means where it goes, your wealth goes. So if you have your digital assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, on the cold wallet, you got 7 continents. Whatever you have on there is going to go equal value on 7 continents instead of having to convert to different denominations of money and currency around the world. So once you take it off a crypto exchange, you need to put it on a cold wallet. That's the end goal.
Exactly.
Go ahead, LaShawn.
No problem. No. And one little thing about the cold wallet, if you are thinking about getting a cold wallet, Ledger, that's where I got mine from. If you get a cold wallet, make sure you get it from directly from the vendor. Don't go be cheap and go on Amazon. Order your Ledger order your cold wallet or your hardware wallet from Ledger. That's the one I use. And it literally does really do look like a US what you call it, little
USB. It's like a USB little thing, like a storage device.
Like a storage device. It really does.
And what happens, it'll take anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks for it to come because it's coming from France. If you get it from Amazon or Facebook Marketplace or whatever, somebody's going to send you one with some passwords on there, seed phrases. That's what they call them. And the seed phrases is what they're going to control. And as soon as you put your digital assets on there, they'll just go in there with the seed phrases that they duplicated and it will wipe you clean. But if you get it straight from the manufacturer ledger, it's going to come clean and it's going to not be tampered with.
Exactly. And that's critically important. Because this is all network, this all technology, is all sort of utilizing internet, there is a lot of room to be taken advantage of, right? And so this is the reason why, we don't charge. If somebody is going to charge you, say, oh, we'll charge you to set up your wallet. No, you do not pay anybody to set up your wallet. You're going to have to take that time and figure it out. Now we'll talk about how to set up a wallet, right? But we're not going to actually set up your wallet, because when you set up your wallet, you're going to get, there's going to be basically a private key and a public key. And as much as you may like me, you don't want me to know your private key, right? And your private key is going to be a list of digits. It could be A, B, C, K, F, Ed, star. There's a list of digits.
It's going to be words, actually. It's going to be words.
I mean, I'm sorry, Dad, you're right. I'm thinking about the something else. But your private key is going to be basic, I think, 12 words. You don't want me to know what your 12 words are, okay? Those 12 words are your 12 words that is key to your wealth, right? And so now the reason why you don't want to hold your money on the exchange is because on the exchange, they actually have access to both your public and your private key. Whereas when you have it on your desktop wallet, phone wallet, hardware wallet, or your paper wallet, your private key is held by you, by nobody else, other than whoever you may give your private key to. Okay, so it's critical that you have a wallet to maintain your private key, especially once you start making a lot more money in crypto. All right, miners. You're going to hear this term called miners, right? Miners is like gold miners, but are not people. They're computers, and they're basically computers utilized to compute power to solve complex problems. And in return, these miners get digital gold, i.e. Bitcoin, okay, as a payment. All right. Blockchain. Now, earlier, Antonio R. Terrence said blockchain is like a digital ledger. It is like a digital ledger, a distributed digital ledger. But a blockchain is both a distributed digital ledger, and it's immutable and it's secure, at least as it stands right now. Whereas you could have just a ledger itself, like a database, but it not necessarily be immutable and secure, meaning there's no corresponding consensus mechanism that's underlying that blockchain. Now, this is a critical thing. Who is that? I thought somebody
what I was going to say is that digital ledger, when it says immutable, means once it's on the blockchain, you can't change the results. So if somebody's mining a diamond in South Africa, If they put the information on the blockchain, you know who picked the diamond, you know what mine it was picked out of, you know the buyer, the seller, and everything else. Once they put that on the blockchain, somebody can't arbitrarily come in there and take out any piece of information or change the information. It is what it will be and always be across that blockchain where everybody sees the same thing. Back to you, LaShawn.
Exactly. And this is the reason why we're having these calls every month, because there is so much opportunity there that we need y'all's brilliant minds to think about. Think about that. If anything that I do is going to be put on the blockchain and it's immutable, it can never be changed. I will always be able to know that Sean bought her house on this date from Tasha. And no matter what happens before or after, that transaction is right there. If you're an attorney and you do estate planning or probate, right? This could be game changer. If you're in real estate, this could be game changer. If you're in any form of business, this could be game changer, because this basically means that there's a way to know what happens in exchanges between people or parties or entities, where there's no room for to say, well, that didn't happen. Well, yes, it did happen. There's so much there. All right. Another point, halving. All right. You're going to start hearing this more because we're halfway to that next halving, right? I think the last halving was in 2020 during COVID, actually. All right. Every 4 years, the number of Bitcoin that's paid to miners is halved, meaning they can make less Bitcoin every 4 years than the 4 years before. All right. That's huge, because that means that the value of Bitcoin over time is going to increase. Okay. So that's just something to think about when you start doing your research and you start hearing halving or happening, you know what that's talking about.
When you read the Bitcoin white paper, if you don't take anything out of that, take 3 points: who created it, why he created it, and the number. There's a number associated with it. And when you understand the number, that halving makes sense.
Okay.
Because when scarcity comes into play, prices increase.
Exactly.
Back to you, Sean.
Exactly. All right. So cryptocurrencies, digital coins with similar properties like Bitcoin. All right. When we think about cryptocurrency or digital coins, we're thinking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. These platforms like Bitcoin or Ethereum, they have their own blockchain, their own open source technology, their own supply, meaning they have a certain number of coins that can be created, and then an ability to receive and send value. But you also, when you start doing your research, you'll start hearing about tokens. Tokens are different than coins. Tokens usually do not have its own blockchain. It usually operates on top of another blockchain. So for instance, I think Polygon is a token that operates on top of Ethereum. Now, I know I'm throwing out a lot of words, but like, okay, Sean, that's too much. All right. That's the point. It's so much that you just need to start the research, go down your rabbit trails. And then as you continue to go down the rabbit trails, you continue to participate in our monthly calls. You'd be very surprised at how much you'll start to understand things and things will start to piece together. You'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. All right. So just when you start hearing tokens, coins, that is a difference.
So what you're going to see is whatever you're passionate about in life, it doesn't make a difference if it's medicine, law, wine, shoveling shit by the seashore, whatever it is, there's a token that's associated with it, literally. And all you have to do is understand where it is in blockchain technology. If you can find your passion, there's a token in there, you find out what it is, you read the white paper on what it is, and if it moves you, then that's what you do. And that's what she's talking about. Back to you, Sean.
Okay. Thank you, Antonio. All right, altcoins. When you hear somebody say altcoins, they're really talking about any other crypto that's not Bitcoin. All right. So usually you have Bitcoin and then everybody else. All right. Or Bitcoin and Ethereum and then everybody else. But that's what altcoins mean. Proof of work, proof of stake, these are just consensus mechanisms. It's the way that the transactions on the blockchain are verified, right? And so you'll hear a lot of proof of work, proof of stake. Now, truthfully, there's so many types of consensus mechanisms. I think there's another one called proof of community. I mean, it's all, they got proof of everything, right? But when you start hearing proof of anything, that's consensus mechanisms. That's how the blocks on the blockchain get verified. When you hear something called nodes, that's just meaning computers. When I first started learning about Bitcoin, it took me, forever to understand that a node was nothing but a computer. I was like, what's a node? I'm looking up on what's a node? It's a computer. It's very simple, right? It's this, but it took me forever for that to register with all, because when I dug in, when I jumped in, I died. I did face first, head to the concrete, right? I wanted to understand, and I just dived in deep. All right. Smart contracts. Now, smart contracts, in my opinion, and I think Terrence would agree with me on this one, that's going to be game changer to business, right? Because it's a computer program, a protocol. Oh, Gilda raised her hand. Yes, Gilda.
I'm sorry, it was an accident.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. All right. So smart contracts, computer program or protocol intended to automatically execute, control, or document legally relevant events. So there's going to be a way that if, let's say, for instance, you want to sell your house to Jane, but you only want to sell your house to Jane if Jane gives the $50 to Terrence, right? So there's a way to set up a smart contract through the Ethereum network, and some other networks are building up smart contracts now, where if that condition is met, you don't have to do anything else. That transaction will be made, right? And you can build all this into protocols. This is why I wish if I could go back to school, I would go be a coder. But okay, I'm too old now. All right, decentralization, lack of government or third-party control, no intermediaries, distributed ledgers, right? Basically just it's a database. ICOs, that's really initial coin offerings, very similar to like IPOs, initial public offerings. Bitcoin ATMs. I don't know if any of you have seen a Bitcoin ATM, but now that I've brought it to your attention, you're going to start seeing them. They are around. They're like an ATM, but it's a Bitcoin ATM. All right. Need to knows. Only 21 million Bitcoins will ever be created, right? This is why a lot of us believe, one, that Bitcoin is a store of value because it has a limited number of Bitcoins that can be created, unlike the dollar that you can keep printing dollar for the rest, right? And two, we believe it's a hedge against the inflated dollar because only 21 million Bitcoins will be created. This is where the interchange of the 21 million Bitcoin plus the fact that you have the halving event every 4 years come into play.
That was one of my questions when I think Antonio brought up scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know if it was scarcity because sometimes demand is driven by perceived scarcity, but this is actual scarcity because there's a finite number to this resource.
Absolutely.
And when you crunch the numbers, there's a site, if you were to talk about how many Bitcoin has actually been burned or whatever held, it's about 18 million right now. So it's actually about 2 million, of which out of the 21 million, out of the 18 million, I should say, excuse me, some have been lost because of seed phrases. Some are in landfills. Some are from computers that they can't get access to. So the actual number is about 2 to 3 million actual Bitcoins left on the scarcity factor.
And I'm so glad that Sharita asked her questions and Antonia's answered it, because remember that slide I said about Goldman Sachs? Okay, so right now, if you listen to people in the marketplace, they're going to tell you to be afraid of Bitcoin, be scared of Bitcoin, etc. Right? You got government, they're trying to figure out how to regulate it, and they will come up with some legislation to regulate Bitcoin, cryptos, etc. Right? But don't wait until that happens to get into the marketplace, because the reason why they're wanting you to be scared of Bitcoin, they're wanting you to be scared of the crypto market, is because they're trying to figure out, how can I ensure that my cronies get paid first? How can I ensure that who controls the money supply now can control the money supply when we're no longer calling it money, we're calling it Bitcoin, ETH, CBDC, right? They're trying to figure that out. We can't wait until the government gives us the okay on it. We have to get in the game now, because just as Antonio says, there's not many Bitcoin left. So what they're wanting to do is that they're wanting, of course, Bitcoin to go down in value so that the institutional investors, the Goldman Sachs of the world, can come in and scoop it up, and then they can control the play. They can control the up and down.
And if anybody Googles how many Bitcoin in use, the first little glib it's going to tell you is data from Coinbase show there's currently 18.9 million Bitcoin in circulation. So 18.9 from 21 mil. So that tells you that all the multi-billionaires in the world, even if every one of them wanted a Bitcoin, they couldn't get one.
Exactly.
So what keeps this form of currency, what makes this one so valuable over the other ones that are being created? Because now there's a lot of different cryptocurrencies out there. Is it because this was the first?
So yes. So what happens is Bitcoin was the first. The blockchain technology was built off the Bitcoin. Bitcoin blockchain is the granddaddy of them all, right? And the analogy I like to tell is, if you have kids and you tell your kids, hey, you got 2 kids, you got 3 kids, and you tell the first one, hey, I'm gonna give you this recipe. And the first kid says, okay, and they make it tastier. And the second one makes it tastier and faster. And the third one just makes it better than all of them. Who would get credit for that recipe? And most people will say the third kid. And I say, no, it would be the parent, because if they didn't give the recipe to the kids, they wouldn't be able to modify it. Bitcoin is that chef, is that person. Without Bitcoin, you don't have Ethereum. Without Ethereum, you don't have all the rest of these coins that's been created with different purposes. So Bitcoin will be the engine in a car, and Ethereum will be the oil. All those other altcoins will be the power seats, power windows, all the accessories in there. Now, you can move, but you won't move far. And if you do move, it's not going to go far and it's going to burn up. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, they take up most of the oxygen in the room, and for good reason.
Yep. All right. So, right now you have thousands of altcoins. Truth be told, a lot of those altcoins are not going to survive the bear market that we're in and that we're going to continue to be in. And if we see a recession, even more of the altcoins are going to go down. We do on a monthly basis. Terrence, Antonio is very good about every month. We talk about, 1 or 2 or 3 sort of use cases for some of these altcoins, because that's where some of the real big, heavy, quick money, not quick money, but a lot of money can be made. Because if you buy some of these altcoins at 50 cents, that's trading at 50 cents right now, and in 2-3 years, they're now trading at $7. And depending on how much you made, you've made a lot of money off of a 50-cent buy, right? So, but you got to, it's about picking the altcoins. It's about,
Research. It's about research.
Which is one of the things we try to do on a monthly basis. We're not going to do it necessarily today because I wanted to go back to the basics. All right. So I want you to understand that the monetary system that we have been living by all of my life, all of your life, are probably all around the same age. It's just a fictional system, y'all. There's nothing absolute about this system. And if you think that this system is going to always be the system, you're being naive, because the system that we're in now wasn't always the system. All right.
It's a shell game.
It's a shell game. It's a shell game. All right. And so the dollar is definitely being devalued, y'all. That's the reason why things are so much higher now. But we're not going to be shocked by things being higher. we expect that now that we understand what money is, right? Because money is nothing more than debt, right? If America paid all of its debt off, you would not have any dollars, because money isn't anything but dollar isn't anything but debt. You have to really take that into consideration. A dollar is nothing but a promise to pay. And it's so you have all of these promises to pay out there in the market system on top of promises to pay. Right. So that's what so this current system is really it's just a shell game. And you really have to you have to do your own research and let that sort of sink in. And then once it sink in, I think it frees you to be willing to play this money game, because you realize, okay, it's a game. I just hadn't been playing it. And so if I haven't never been playing it, there's no way I could ever really win, because I haven't been in the game. And the game is changing. And government right now, Congress, Senate, Congress, they're right now, and not just them, the business people, the business people of the world are sitting around figuring out, how can we now leverage crypto and Bitcoin so that we can maintain our 1% ownership of the wealth? I mean, I'm sorry, 1%, be the 1% wealthy in this global world. All right, so I think that's my last slide, and the bear market that we're in and that we're going to continue to be in. And if we see a recession, even more of the altcoins are gonna go down. We do on a monthly basis. Terrence, Antonio is very good about every month. We talk about, one or two or three sort of use cases for some of these altcoins, because that's where some of the real big, heavy, quick money, not quick money, but a lot of money can be made. Because if you buy some of these altcoins at 50 cents, that's trading at 50 cents right now, and in 2-3 years, they're now trading at $7. And depending on how much you made, you've made a lot of money off of a 50-cent buy, right? So, but you got to, it's about picking the altcoins. It's about,
research. It's about research,
which is one of the things we try to do on a monthly basis. We're not going to do it necessarily today, because I wanted to go back to the basics. All right, so I want you to understand that the monetary system that we have been living by all of my life, all of your life, are probably all around the same age. It's just a fictional system, y'all. There's nothing absolute about this system. And if you think that this system is going to always be the system, you're being naive, because the system that we're in now wasn't always the system. All right.
It's a shell game.
It's a shell game. It's a shell game. All right. And so the dollar is definitely being devalued, y'all. That's the reason why things are so much higher now. But we're not going to be shocked by things being higher. We expect that now that we understand what money is, right? Because money is nothing more than debt, right? If America paid all of its debt off, you would not have any dollars, because money isn't anything but dollar isn't anything but debt. You have to really take that into consideration. A dollar is nothing but a promise to pay. And so you have all of these promises to pay out there in the market system on top of promises to pay, right? So that's what so this current system is really it's just a shell game. And you really have to you have to do your own research and let that sort of sink in. And then once it sink in, I think it frees you to be willing to play this money game, because you realize, okay, it's a game. I just hadn't been playing it. And so if I haven't never been playing it, there's no way I could ever really win, because I haven't been in the game. And the game is changing. And government right now, Congress, Senate, Congress, they're right now, and not just them, the business people, the business people of the world are sitting around figuring out, how can we now leverage crypto and Bitcoin so that we can maintain our 1% ownership of the wealth? I mean, I'm sorry, 1%, be the 1% wealthy in this global world. All right, so I think that's my last slide.
And it even says it on the dollar. It's legal tenders for all debts, blah, 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 blah. It's baked into the actual words on the dollar. So therefore and therewith, when the economy crashed back in 2008 and Bitcoin came in 2009, the banks and all the financial institutions, they kind of looked at the parade of people getting rich, this, that, and the other. This time the parade came by and they're like, nope, we're not going to miss this one, because their clients, the customers, want to be in the game. And just to show you how intrinsic this place is getting, Warren Buffett said that Bitcoin is rat poison squared. But the bank that he has all his assets, Mellon Bank, is directly involved with the crypto market. So he has a plausible deniability about saying that, but his assets is being mingled in there too.
Exactly. Exactly. Back to the basics is a lot. I know it's gonna be a lot of information, but I didn't want to have to, I wanted to have a recording so I wouldn't have to continue to go back to some of those basic things as we continue to go forward, because
the only thing the government, US government right now is doing is they're trying to figure out how to tax crypto assets, which is why back in 2020, they asked one question on your tax forms. Do you own or have you dabbled in crypto? If you answered yes, you're good. If you say no, they can go back to the beginning of crypto and try to find something to fault you with. They just haven't figured out how to tax it.
Yeah.
And you know, our government can mess up a one-car funeral and a wet dream in one stroke. So that being said, it's coming.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, they're trying to figure out, they have put more legislation out that hadn't become law yet, that they are trying to figure out how to regulate stable coins, how to regulate regular cryptocurrencies, how do you classify Bitcoin. They're going to have in the next year. See, this is what I don't want to happen. What I don't want to happen to me and to my people or whoever, right, is I don't want us to be lullabied to sleep, right? You hear in the market, crypto's crashing. It's down to 29,000. It's going to go down to zero. And then we like, oh, I knew that crypto wasn't nothing. And then we sleep on it. But at the same time, they're coming up with all kinds of stablecoin legislation, proposals and bills, et cetera. They're trying to figure out how can we make sure that our cronies maintain control of this. And then all of a sudden in 2024, 25, we wake up and we see a headline. Bitcoin just hit $100,000 a coin. And then, you know, the United States government just released, you know, the America for Bitcoin, whatever, or now America now has a central bank digital coin, blah, 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 right? And now all of a sudden they said, it's okay now, come on into the system. Well, by the time you do that, by the time they give you that rubber stamp authority,
the cronies would have already rated it. They would have rated it.
They've rated it already. They've already controlled it. So now instead of you being able to get in while it's fluctuating in the 20s, 30s, it might even go down to 20. Hell, it might go to 10. It might go to 300. I don't know, but I hope it does go to 300, because if it goes to 300, I'm gonna buy me some more, right?
Okay, which brings up another